Hi everybody, this is Julie and I'm going to go over week 3, the organization of the week, and talk to you about some of the main content that's in here. I'm not going to do an overview of the student sample paper because there's an actual video with Professor Andy Kavanaugh and he goes over that. So I feel like you've already got one of those in here for your resources, but let me go over the week as it stands and share with you at least an overview of the main deliverable. So you see that this week, last week we talked a little bit about Aristotle's, modes of persuasion and the rhetorical appeals of logos, ethos, and pathos, right? This week you're going to build your credibility by showing really good academic research and writing it in a style that sounds like proper business English, something that you would submit. For example, I used to work for an engineering firm and we used to have to submit proposals in very specific styles to the municipalities where we were trying to get jobs, like to local government or state government. And there was a very specific phraseology that we would use, or if you had a military client, there was a specific phraseology that you would use. And I'm trying to see here, I'm going to see in your submission, how will you adapt to academic/business English? Okay, so the second writing assignment's the focus of the week. It's the synthesis literature review. Take a look at the Tom student. It's embedded in the week. What I've done is I've clicked on week 3 here, the first part of week 3. If you're browsing within the content and then you click on some of the sublinks, it's not going to show you everything. And I don't want you to miss content. Okay? So we'll keep talking about the concept of audience as well. Formal and informal audiences. Informal would be an email to a colleague. Formal would be a presentation to a potential client, something like that. And then we're going to examine a document from Victoria Business School's How to Write a Business Report. That will come into play a little bit later. So our goals this week are to categorize several research articles from scholarly and trade journals, synthesize sources into a brief review of the literature, and apply appropriate writing style for the situation, colloquial, casual, and formal. We're going to err on the side of slightly more formal, but it's good to have that conversation because once you have that conversation, you know when to move within those different styles. And so resources in here. Some of these you've seen before, I hope. There's style and written communication. There's tools and tips for organizing your writing. So if we look at style and written communication, this is just a one-ish page reading. There's tools and tips for organizing your writing. There's the How to Write a Business Report from Victoria Business School. That's going to come into play later, but it's something to keep in mind. So if we click on the external resource here, you'll see that it pops up. It's a 41-page document. Just skim it. I'm not going to torture you with reading and quizzing you and knowing each line, but at this point in a 390 level class, you can do, in an 8-week condensed class, expectation is you'll be reading probably 100 pages a week. And that includes the research that you're doing. You've probably already seen this before, this APA tutorial, and this is just how do you format a reference. So all of these are about research, reminder, formatting. So these are just the readings. We'll say it's, 45 pages. Okay. Then there are there's the student sample paper that I think will help you. This is a student that has submitted this lit review. And then there's a video with Professor Kavanaugh who's going over some of the features of that as well. And then there is, I believe, a second sample in there. At the end of the week, we've got our 2 discussions, and you'll notice from the prior post, discussions are due Friday for main posts and Sunday for your response to your classmates. Those posts are due Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so examining a sample research-based report, so you get a chance to talk about what you saw with the Victoria Business School text, and you get a chance to talk about a student sample paper, so you're priming yourself for doing the own writing. But I don't want you to go in there feeling like you have no idea what the expectation is with the sample paper and the sample video going over it. That should really help you. Now, when we look at the assignment, there's your submission of it, and then here's the handout. Now, I got to tell you guys, I would have reformatted this a little bit. Unfortunately, I did not make up this handout. But here's the information. You select a topic for assignment 4, and this lit review is the reading where you're kind of compartmentalizing your sources on different subtopics of your research paper that's coming up. Okay, your job is to locate 7 articles from scholarly or credible trade journals. This does not mean Business Insider. That's like a news source. It does not mean newspapers. We're talking scholarly and trade journals. So you want to choose journals and peer review when you're doing your one searches. And if you don't come up with any reliable content, it's the perfect time to reach out and talk to me. Okay. You'll submit a first draft of this essay to the assignment folder. The first draft will not be graded. That's coming up a little bit later. The instructor, me, will provide comments. After receiving comments, you'll submit a revised draft, and that's what you get graded. So when you're working on that big, 30% project, it's not you do it once and it's over. You're going to work within feedback with me. But this assignment's helping you prepare for that. Okay? This is 1,000 to 1,400 word assignment, so it's 3 or 4 pages, double spaced APA style. And if your major, like your history major, and it requires you to use MLA, that's fine. You will not be penalized for me. Okay. So consider the problem you will address and conduct research in the library on your topic. And there's an example here that will help you. For example, assume that you're writing a report to the Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences at UMGC to recommend us move from the learning experience online, that's LEO, that's the learning management system, to a different one, say Canvas or WebCT. In preparation for this, you may complete the following. You want to conduct library research on topics of LMSs in schools, online teaching, effective teaching in an online environment. Okay? In a background review and synthesis of the literature, synthesis of the literature means you read multiple articles on your topic from experts in your field, and you take their ideas and you try to come up with a new way of explaining your position. You review what the articles say. You divide the arguments in the articles into themes. So let's assume that you conduct library research for schools, online teaching, and effective teaching. Those would be the 3 themes. Okay? So a selection of topics. You could work in a variety of topics, and of course, staying in your work field is probably the best way to go forward with this. You are not required to follow any of the examples that are listed here. So keep in mind that if you have questions about what would make a good topic for the research report, writing assignment 4, reach out to me, because this assignment builds on that. Remember last week, one of your discussions was to look at the sample assignments across the class and to see how a student did it. Well, you're going to do the same thing. Your job now is to build on the research, because it takes time to do research. I mean, didn't Bezos even say that? The writing of those memos that he was talking about, these 6-page memos, he wanted his employees to work on it and to take the time and to revise and enhance for the audience. Well, this is writing exercises, but the writing exercises that are in preparation for assignment 4. Okay. The sources will be cited throughout the paper in APA format and listed on a references page in APA. If you've taken 112, you know what this looks like, but I will post additional videos on APA format. And then there's some additional hyperlinks in here to additional use of sources in secondary research and some additional topics that students have submitted in 394. So writing assignment number 2 is a list of 7 sources, and then 2 to 3 pages of writing, and you'll organize it per category that are related to your research process. So a couple of your sources may talk about X, a few may talk about Y, and a few may talk about Z. So you write about them in a paragraph. You're starting to find connections, and synthesis writing is quite important in a business sense. So that's what we're going to practice this week, and I will give you as much feedback as I can. So that's the overview for the week. There is some reading. I think you can handle it. And I'm here to help you all along the way, so just reach out when you have questions.